So hello and welcome to Free First Magic Mondays. We're just going to call it Magic Monday because I can remember that part and I can't remember the rest of it apparently every time I say it. And this month in the Wildspire community and also in this conversation, we're going to explore flowing with change. And this is particularly relevant, this topic for me, but I think it's actually relevant for all of us as humans. Like who isn't experiencing some kind of change, either fighting against it, trying to create it, feeling uncomfortable with it. And we have this interesting relationship with change as humans. And is it okay with you, Tom, if I just roll into my little ramble here on change?
Oh, go for it. Ramble on.
And I'm going to say a big hi to everybody. I see Joanna and Dwight and Claire. I haven't said hi to you yet. So I think it was almost 5 years ago now, I knew that it was time to leave my life as I knew it. It didn't sound that dramatic in my head. I'm just making it dramatic now. I left my home in New York, the home that I lived in with my then husband. I left my marriage, left my business, left my pets, because I knew it was the thing to do. And I was talking with one of my dear friends about this because it was something that I knew. I just knew in that moment that this change was happening and it was the right thing for me to do. But I didn't do it right away because I really wanted to make sure that I knew that I knew that I knew that I knew, and that I left in a clear state. Like that was my promise to myself, that I wouldn't be escaping. I wasn't escaping. I wasn't running away, that it was a choice that I was making clear and clean as I could. And I did that. I'm not going to say I did it perfectly, but I did that. And it wasn't until maybe 6 months later that I looked at my life and went, oh my God, I just reinvented my life. I happened to be spending 2 months in Australia and I was like, oh shit, I just reinvented my life, didn't I? And I think if I had looked at it like that, it might have freaked me out. So I'm glad that I didn't. I was just following what I knew. And in talking to my dear friend, as I started to say about this, she said to me, Stephanie, you have this unusual capacity for change. And at the time, I'd never thought about that, about myself. I'd never noticed that. It never even occurred to me. And I thought that was kind of interesting and maybe kind of cool that she said, most people fight change kicking and screaming, and you're not. So I sort of accepted that because I said, well, maybe she's right. But now it looks different to me. I don't think I have any capacity for dealing with change that every other human doesn't also have. It's a capacity to be with the constant change that is our existence, changing thoughts, changing feelings, changing bodies, changing external things in our lives, changing relationships, constant change. And we all have this capacity to be with that and be okay with that, because we are that which is unchanging. And the more we know that, we are made of that which is unchanging. We are standing on the ground that is unchanging. This is a metaphor, in case you didn't notice. The more we know that, the more okay we feel with it. And I'm embarking on changes like this again. And this is the first time I'm mentioning them publicly, that I'm in the process of immigrating to Portugal, which has proven a rather frustrating process of dealing with government bureaucracy and visa applications. And this isn't the only change that's coming with that. I'm leaving the place that I live in, but I'm also leaving the relationship that I'm in, and moving to a new country and a new relationship in a new country. And I felt that change happening inside of me probably 7 or 8 months ago, and didn't know what it was going to look like, didn't know how, but I felt it. It was that knowing again, and it freaked me out. It completely freaked me out, because for the first time in my life, I've really felt settled. Like, I'm not leaving because there's something missing here. There's nothing missing, not in the home I live in the relationship that I've been in this life that I have. There's nothing missing, but something is calling me. And that, among other things, was part of what had my mind in a swirl of thinking. Like, how can I possibly do that? That's not what people do. This isn't how it's supposed to go. And I share this with you because whether the changes in your life are big or small, there's something in you that knows, that guides you each step at a time. And that's what this journey has been teaching me again, to stay right here with what I know. Tom knows this because I talked to him about it a few weeks ago. I was beyond frustrated with the visa application process, just beyond, like pulling my hair out. And what was really funny about it was that I didn't even have all my documents together. I wasn't even at the point where I needed to make an appointment with the embassy, but I was frustrated and freaking out because I couldn't make an appointment with the embassy. And I didn't even know when I would be able to do that, right? Like, I was really getting ahead of myself and so freaked out. And somehow I really saw that I was making it up. I was making up the timeline. I was making up, this is supposed to be different. And when I did, I stopped. I didn't have to do that, that I can follow the next step that I know, this thing that I know right now. So when I think about change and being in the flow of change, flowing with it, one of the ways that I've been really seeing something about this too, is age, and how I see it changing my skin, my face, my body. And I don't like it. When I think about that, I don't like it. But I've been looking at that differently too. I'm not even sure how to say what I've been seeing about that yet, so I don't think I'm going to share that part. But I want to share this quote with you. And this is one that I actually have memorized, but I'm also going to read it so I make sure, 100% sure that I have it right. This is from Ramana Maharshi. And he says, "Let come what comes. Let go what goes. See what remains." And this is what sustains me through changes. And it doesn't take courage. I don't feel brave. In fact, I don't even feel like, somebody said to me just yesterday, like, "Wow, I wish you well with all these huge changes in your life." And I'm like, really? In that moment, it didn't even look like these were big changes. Sometimes they do. But Not really, because all I have to do is the next thing in front of me. And right now that's just talking to you. And then I'm looking at Tom. And then I'm noticing what occurs to me to say next. And what sustains me is knowing that I'm connected to that which doesn't change. And we can call that universal intelligence, universal mind, God, nature, oneness, source, spirit. Whatever it is, it's what animates all life. And it's what's animating us. And it's what lets me know what to do, when I need to do it, and not before, not when I think I need to know it, but when I actually need to know it. And if I stay here in this present moment and I don't get caught up in my head trash, it doesn't feel like a lot at all. It just feels like this. So Tom, I would love to hear what this sparks in you, or what else is sparking in you around change.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for that. I loved hearing the story and the way you described it. And there's something in, for me, what you're saying that seems like a really useful thing to look at, which is, you can be seeing these big life changes that are happening or that are coming down the pike, so to speak. And when you're in the middle of it, maybe working on the visa or thinking about it, trying to plan, it can seem really big. Wow, this is a big change. This is a lot of work. And then an hour later, you're having a cup of coffee, you're looking at the trees, whatever. And then maybe it comes to mind again, but it doesn't seem like that big a deal. Like something is at work there too. The fact that something can look big at one moment, next moment it just looks like, oh, it's not a big deal. I do this, I do that. I don't even have to think about that right now. I can think about the coffee and the tree and the friend that I'm with. And it's very comforting to me, but I think it points to the same sort of, if you want to call it a force or a power that you were talking about when you were talking about what's always here, like our grounding, what's always present. And I just think that's also very helpful too, when it does seem like a lot is happening, is that it can look different from moment to moment. And that's somehow just very comforting to me. So that's kind of what I'm hearing.
Cool. And it was really interesting to hear myself say what I just said, because I just spent a weekend in inquiry and seeing a lot of things more deeply and realizing how much I haven't seen about certain things, how much more there is for me to see. But there's something that I know, and I felt it when I said it, that we are made of this changeless stuff, this unchanging, undying energy. And when I feel that, that doesn't mean that I think I'm going to live forever, that my personality goes on, or that my body, something like, no, I don't know what happens after I die, but I'm pretty sure that it's not. Well, I don't know. But there's something that I'm made of that doesn't die when my personality goes away, when my body goes away. And I really feel that. And it's cool to notice it. That's not a belief. And it's really cool to see scientists point to that, physicists point to that, all the great wisdom traditions point to that in one way or another. And it really does sustain me through the hurricanes and tsunamis of change that whip through human life.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I would love to open this up and see if
Yeah.
any of you have a question or something that's sparking in you. And then we may see what direction this conversation goes, unless something's occurring to you, Tom. Okay, yeah, you were muted. So what are you noticing about change? What's coming up for you, or what would you like to explore around this? And you can, it'll probably be easiest if you raise your digital hand, if you go down to the reactions button and raise your digital hand. I can see you easiest. Joanna, hi.
Hi, glad to be here. Um, what came up as you and Tom both spoke was kind of a question for myself that I thought I would share, which is how would I act or how would I feel? What would I do if I knew everything would work out in due time, or kind of like trusting in that support piece? How would I proceed? And I just realized without that worrying about how things would look or work out, I would live in the present moment differently. And I think it's still something that I'm kind of considering, but that's what came to mind as I listened to you both.
Mhm. That's beautiful, Joanna. And it's just nice to be able to notice that. Like, I don't think we have to fake what we know. That was my point. Like, there were a lot of things that I was seeing like, oh, wow, I really don't know that fully. Maybe I've glimpsed it, but it's not truly real for me. But some things are. Like, we do have these things that we know that just are, not beliefs. It doesn't even require faith unless we're in one of those moments where we forget, which does happen. That's cool to notice. Thanks for sharing that, Joanna. Hi,
Yeah.
Xander.
Yeah.
So do you want to say something to that too,
Yeah.
Tom? Sorry.
I think I wanted to ask Joanna something. It's nice to sometimes reflect on what we've already seen, like what's already happened and how it's worked. And so, you could probably think of a time where something maybe big, even maybe small, but maybe even big, where it didn't work out the way that you had hoped it worked out. And either you realized when that happened, oh, it didn't work out, but it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, right? Or it was bad, but then after a certain period of time, perhaps you kind of recovered and came back to normal and it was okay, right? I think everyone's probably had those experiences. So I was, on this subject, I was talking to a friend a couple of months ago who I think we were talking about change in life, and they were saying, I just know everything's gonna work out and the universe is gonna take care of me. And I said, I've heard that idea a lot in my life in spiritual circles and whatnot. Like I wish I had that same faith, because on the level of jobs, money, homes, people, I just don't have the faith that things are going to work out like that. But what happened to me was really interesting. But then a little voice said to me, yeah, Tom, but on the inside, whatever happens, you're going to be okay. And I'm like, whoa, it like blew my mind. It's actually even now not as powerful as it was in the moment. So I'm glad you're bringing it up. It's like, okay, yeah, I don't, but yeah, I do know that whatever it is, whatever I am, or that capacity to what we just talked about, to heal, so to speak, to be resilient. Okay, yeah, that I have seen. I can count on that. So approaching things with that mindset, or not even a mindset, just knowing that, okay, I don't know how this thing's going to work out, but I know ultimately I'm going to be okay. That you can take to the bank. Absolutely. So I just wanted to share that. I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. That I think spoke to what I was feeling in my question, because it was more of a feeling that I was trying to communicate. And it was like, I don't have to plan out or see, I don't have to evaluate all the possibilities that might happen if I make this change. I can just know I can have peace because I will be okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm. This is bringing back something that I think I shared last month. That was a distinction I'd never seen before about safety. That there were sort of 3 types of safety, and we often confuse them. So there's our body, which sometimes is not safe because of all the changes, and the body being as it is can be threatened. So that's a real sense, in a real sense of not being safe. And then there is psychological safety, which is a feeling of safety, which, my goodness, comes and goes, right? In and out of that. So it's a feeling. And especially if I think psychologically I'm having an experience that my body is not safe, the feeling of unsafeness sometimes gets even more so, if that looks true. But then there is the spiritual safety. And our spirit is always safe. That which is always safe. And knowing that allows us to navigate those times when we have thoughts that we feel unsafe. And in those times when our body is unsafe, really unsafe, in times of war, thinking shuts off and wisdom takes over. There's no time for actually even feeling afraid. It's just doing what we need to do. It's like there is something inside, this intelligence has our backs that watches out for us. It doesn't guarantee that nothing bad happens, but it does show up for us so that we can make the best of whatever situation we're in and act from that common sense. And I keep coming back to that spiritual safety, that my spirit is safe. And the others are changing. My experience of safety may be variable in these other ways, but this is what remains. So Xander, you have your hand up. I'd love to hear from you. Hi.
Hello, Stephanie. Hi, Tom. Hello, everyone. Just to let you know, I may burst into cofter. Okay, that's a new one. Not laughter, but cofter. Excuse me, because I've been ill recently, and that just tops my. That just means that just shows my sense of humour. Really. I was at the shop, and about 20 minutes prior to coming onto this call. Actually, that's not true because I was on another Zoom call before coming onto this one. But I knew I was coming onto this one, and as I was coming in my front door, I thought about this call, and I thought about it's about change. And I was thinking, I don't know, what do I know about change? And I've only got one thing. I suppose in a way I come to a conclusion, which I try not to come to any conclusions whatsoever. If I come to a conclusion, I want to question that, right? And I've been doing that for quite a long time now. But the one conclusion that I come to about change is that it's the only constant. Everything changes, and I may or may not be happy or like the results of that change. But everything's changing. Some things may remain the same. Like I might live in the same place for, I've been living in this house now for 4 years, 5 years, I don't know. But that could change anytime. Yeah, there's been other thoughts that have occurred to me as I've been listening. But that one thought, whenever I think about change, you know, change, it's about learning, it's growth, it's yeah, learning and growth. That's change. That's sort of psychological, it's emotional, even spiritual. But yeah, it always comes back to me. For me, it always comes back to that change. Change is the only constant. Nothing else is constant except change. And when I realized that for myself, when I realized that, what was it? It actually took away from me or diminished my sense of uncertainty, right? Because as long as I was dwelling on uncertainty, I had a sense of fear. But when I realized that there was nothing I could do about that because everything's going to change and I don't know what's changing next, and that's going to be a constant, then uncertainty became a certainty, right? So what's the point in fear? So in a way, it comes full circle. Yeah. So that's what I've got at the moment. If I may reserve my right to come back in another time. That's all.
Oh, thank you, Xander. That's so funny. I love cofter too. I'm going to try to remember that for future use. Oh, so an idea occurred to me. This was sparked by our conversation. Both what Joanna and Tom said. I'd love for you to think of something in your life that didn't work out the way you planned. Can be small, can be big, it doesn't matter. But something that probably you felt some sense of disappointment about. And I invite you to reflect on what got you through it. What was it that got you through that tough thing? So I'm going to put you into breakout groups, and you don't have to share what the thing is. You can if you want to. But you can talk about it without even talking about the thing and say, this thing happened and what got me through it was. Just explore it. What got you through the tough times? So do we have any questions about that? I think it's pretty simple. And I think we'll go in for 15 minutes. So you'll either be in group of mostly three or two. So 5 minutes each or 7.5 minutes-ish. So welcome back. So I'm really curious about what you saw in your exploration, in particular, what you saw new and fresh about change and our capacity for being with change. And the reason that I'm asking about new and fresh or even surprising or unexpected is because this is the place where insight hangs out, where we see something new, a sight from within, rather than just rehashing our old stories. And I see the Queen of Calm has seen something. Hi, Claire.
Hello. First of all, I'm very excited that you're coming to live in my continent. You'll be a little bit nearer. We could come see you in Trevor, maybe. That would be really cool in the motorhome. I talked a little bit about the burnout that I experienced in 2015. And the question that you posed around, how we got through that, how I got through that. And I was physically very, very poorly. I was saying to Tom and Christian, I used to look at the dishwasher and feel overwhelmed by it. I couldn't feed myself. I was in a bad way. But when I thought about, the first thing that came to mind when I thought about, well, how did I get through it? And I just said to them, I was alive. That's it, really. That's all I needed, was to still be alive. And, and then just kept getting up, having a go, going to bed, waking up the next day feeling a bit rubbish, but carrying on. And so really, how do we get through things? Well, whenever we're still alive, we're still getting through them. But I think when we think, we might call that resilience, our ability to get through things, bounce back from things. And if we don't put a time scale on that, we always are. We always are resilient. We always are getting through things. Might not happen as fast as we want it to, but it's always happening because we're alive.
Claire, do you have a sense of what it was that got you through that?
Well, wanting to stay alive was probably part of it. I don't know, because it was physical, it wasn't emotional, really. I didn't enjoy it, but I never felt truly depressed or anything. It was the sense that it was going to get better, I think, as well. Hope was probably there. The people around me as well, I was looked after by them. So yeah, I don't know, really. Yeah, just that aliveness, I suppose. Just keeping going.
It's really cool. Thank you, Claire. I wonder about that aliveness, that, because I can feel it. There is something about being alive that is just vibrant and alive and vibrating with aliveness. Cool. Hannah. Hi, Hannah.
Hello. Lovely to be here.
Lovely to see you here.
Yeah, I was just reflecting on what I had shared about my my giving birth, birthing my first baby, and how incredibly disappointed I was when we showed up at the hospital, because I didn't have any of the environment that I had planned for. I wanted a water birth, and I had this vision of this beautiful birth, and the birthing center was full, and they didn't have a bath, and then they struggled to find me a room, and then found me a room eventually with sharing with the others. It was quite comical, really. There were builders outside banging away and swearing to each other and smoking their cigarettes. And it was like, no, this is not what I planned for. It was the most amazing birth. Turns out I didn't need any of the environment at all. And all I needed was belief. And what Claire just said really struck a chord with me. Hope. Like we must never underestimate hope. Hope is a biggie. And I didn't share this with the others, but what came to me now is, absolute determination too. I remember feeling, because I didn't share this because I didn't quite connect the dots, but now looking at what it was that brought me to the other side was absolute determination. Like I was 100% sure that my birth and my baby's entry to this world would be amazing, and belief in myself. And all I needed was my body that was built this way to do its thing. Knowing all of that, it was essentially enough. I could do it anywhere, builders or no builders, water or no water. And it turned out just fine. And I was so committed to the whole birthing experience that I could have been anywhere. And that really is amazing to reflect on now. So I thank you and everyone for this opportunity to kick back and really appreciate that, Yeah.
Oh, beautiful, Hannah. Thank you for sharing that. What I'm hearing in this is aliveness, hope, determination, that there is something. Like I would encourage you, if this is sparking something in you, to kind of reflect on the hard times in your life that were hard and you got through them because you're here now, and notice that there was something, whatever it was you needed to get you through it. Other people showed up. There was something.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be Pollyanna here and saying that everything always works out perfectly, because there are tragedies and deaths and losses that happen every day. But even in the midst of them, there is a force that brings what we need to the best, that lets us know what we need to the best of our ability in the situation we're in. And rather than believing it, take a look for yourself and see. I think there's something so powerful about seeing that there was, like, I think about times in my life when I thought I had nobody. It really felt like I had nobody, but something occurred to me.
Yeah.
Or something showed up. It was like a miracle.
Yeah. And Hannah, you said a word that really struck me. And it's not a word we often, I think, hear in, at least in my experience in like a more three principles community, but use the word determination. That really, really struck me. And it felt actually very strong. Like I felt a strong feeling when you said that word. It's like, oh, what is that? And so to me, often when I think of what we call wisdom, guidance, it comes hand in hand with a feeling of what I would call inner strength. Like they're together. They're not like two separate things. And that feels, for some reason, whenever I reflect on the word inner strength, it feels really good. Like it feels good as almost anything. And I often find myself saying, because I have challenges and I don't understand things as well as I could. But this voice inside of me says, Tom, well, you have at least some wisdom and some inner strength. I'm like, and I feel it. And so that wisdom combined with the inner strength, and wisdom gives us like your vision of what you wanted. And ultimately, and that inner strength comes with it. And you put those two together, determination's a really good word, you know, for that. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Mm. Okay, Xander, we've got a couple minutes left. You reserved your right to come back on change. Here you are.
I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, not like that. You know, this isn't something that we talked about in the in some ways it is, but when my mother, when my mother passed away, it, on that day, it felt like I had just fallen into the deepest, darkest place. And three hours later, I got a phone call to tell me that my brother had passed away 3 hours later. Well, that felt like the whole, excuse my language, I'll try not to swear. Like the walls had just caved in on top of me, right? It just, and in an instant, and I was standing on the harbour in the town where I grew up. And when I got that second phone call saying that my brother had passed away, I nearly threw the phone in the sea, right? It's like, and the upshot of that was I spent 2 years with my face in a computer screen. The girl that I was to marry later, I was living with her at the time. She hoovered round about me. Sometimes I would actually get up and let her hoover underneath the table, right? Underneath the desk. But I was lost. I had no sense of hope. I wasn't determined. I wasn't, I was numb. When it was over, I says to her, I said to Sharon, I says, why did you put up with that? You know, I might as well have been an ornament sitting in the corner, really, right? And she said, I knew you would come out of it eventually. She didn't hope. She wasn't determined. She knew that I would come out of it. I didn't know anything, right? I didn't take my face away from that screen unless I had to get out and get in the car. And the only reason I went out was the conditions under which I went out to go in the car, to go anywhere with Sharon, was so long as I didn't have to get out of the car while we were away from. And as soon as I was out of there, I was straight back, and I was straight back at I hardly spoke to anybody. How anybody put up with that, how she put up with that, I don't know. That's why she's my angel, right? That's why she's the love of my life, right? She sustained me when I had nothing. When she left, I said, I don't even know if I don't even know if I want to live anymore. She's not here. And I don't even know what got me through that. But I'm here. I'm smiling. I'm quite content, you know. And I might not be as healthy as I was 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, or a year ago. But excuse me. But you know, I'm still kicking, right? And I'm still smiling. And I don't say that to be hopeful, because I don't have a good relationship with the word hope, right? I'm like, you either know or you don't, right? I'm either going to or I'm not, right? It's either success or it's not, right? I don't do hope very well, but yeah, that's just me. But yeah, I'm here. I was here yesterday, and I just, I'll shut up, Stephanie. Just give me a second, right? But I once said to this friend of mine, he was a manic depressive, and it was very rare that you would get a conversation if I remember his name, it's a long time ago. I think his name was Peter. I was walking past him one day, and I says to him, "Well, how are you?" And he said, "Well, it was a good day yesterday. So far today, it's been a good day. So there's a good chance that tomorrow will be a good day." That stayed with me for 20 odd years. There's a good chance that tomorrow will be a good day. I'm going to stop now.
Xander, I'm really glad that you're here. Thank you. That's so cool. Even if we don't know, there's something that got us through because we're here. And I love that. Thank you so much. I put a little link in the chat in case you haven't joined us in the Wildspire community yet. You are very welcome. We'll continue exploring what we're seeing about change. I'll make some videos this month. You're welcome to share your own questions, videos, inspirations on that or other topics. And I hope to see you again soon.
Thanks, everybody.